All right, so tonight I have the Hyundai Elantra N. Now, originally I wasn't gonna make this channel about car reviews. I'm still not going to, but I have this car on an overnight test drive because I couldn't decide at the dealership whether I really wanted to buy it or not. I already own a Speed 6 and I wanted another car to add to my garage, and it's been between this car and the GR Corolla. The thing is, I don't know anything about the GR Corolla, so this car kind of had the leg up for a while. But after driving it for the first time, there was one thing about it, and I'll get into it, that really turned me off from it. So they said, take it on an overnight test drive, see if you can get used to it. Here's the thing. I now know I'm not gonna get this car, but I don't want that to turn this car away from anybody who might get it. It's still a fantastic car, but I'll get into why I'm not gonna get it in just a second. All right, so a couple of features of this car. It has 4 pistons up front, 2 in the rear, I believe. Don't quote me on that. It has a really cool brace bar in the back. It has 245 section Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's, which really make this car, like, if you get this car, don't ever put another tire on it. Don't put a cheaper tire, don't put a worse tire on it, because the Michelin Pilot Sports are excellent and they really help make this car what it is. But the car handles, I mean, really well. It's a fun car to drive. It's a great daily driver. Now, a couple of things I don't like. When you start it up, it starts up in normal mode every time, and normal mode is kind of like the pointless mode in this car. I don't know why anyone would drive this car in normal. I can understand eco. The car sucks in eco mode, but I can understand why you would drive it in that. Sport Plus and N mode are really the only ways to go. I don't know why normal mode is a thing, but anyways, we're gonna put it in sport mode. That opens up some valves in the exhaust. I assume the exhaust gets louder. I don't know. I didn't do too much research on this car. I just really liked the car. I thought it was a cool, interesting car, so I decided, well, let me go test drive it and see if I like it, because I have to drive cars for myself to see if I like them anyway. So let's go ahead and just get moving. Now, the clutch is super easy to engage. This clutch is super light, and the guys at the dealership said that the clutches in these cars are just like this. It feels like a brand new clutch. It might get harder over time, I don't know. But the clutch is super easy to engage. It has some kind of feature that prevents it from rolling back. So you don't get that typical manual roll back hill start. I don't know if all manuals are like that. I drive one from 2006, so it's lacking some features, but I mean, it's a really easy car to drive. Now, this is probably the best sounding 4-cylinder car I have ever driven. Just listen to it pop. Hey, that is such a good sound. That right there is worth the 40 grand that I would have to spend on this car by itself. Now, this car does have automatic rev matching, and it starts up that way every time you turn it on. So I'm gonna downshift into second gear without rev matching myself. See, it does it. I mean, it works pretty well. It's not something I'm used to, but it works. However, that is something that I don't really need, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. Another cool thing about this car is that it literally tells you everything about the car on this screen right here, which is absolutely amazing. I have a separate device that does that in my car, but this to me is super useful. I mean, if anything ever goes wrong with the car, you can come to this screen and hopefully be able to tell. Now, it doesn't show you as much as like an access port would show you, but it's still pretty nice to have. So we're gonna turn onto this road and we're gonna give it the beans a little bit. This car is super grippy. That does have a lot to do with the tires though. These are excellent tires, super easy to downshift, and it just sticks to the corners. It is absolutely an amazing car to drive. Like, it literally just, it sticks to the corners. You cannot upset this car at all. It has tons of mechanical grip. The tires have tons of grip. It's just a perfect combination, and it sounds absolutely amazing. The steering is okay. It could be a little bit more responsive to me. It's very nicely weighted. It's not too heavy, it's not too light. But in terms of road feel, it just feels kind of heavy. The steering is quick though. So we're gonna go back around. I mean, by all means, if you want this car, it is a fantastic car to drive. Like, see, I don't know. And I'm gonna get into that in just a second. The gearing, the shifter is not good, but we'll get into that. I mean, it just sticks. The Pilot Sport 4S's are so good. Like, this is worth it. They're $300 now, which is ridiculous, but I mean, if you want to take this car and have it as your daily driver, it's an excellent vehicle. It's an excellent daily driver. It's an excellent car to have when it is your only car. So if you're in the market for something fun that can do everything, this is a fantastic car for that. So everything I've said about this car so far has been good. It's an excellent vehicle, but there are two major problems with it, at least in my case. And when we get onto the main highway, I'm gonna see if I can showcase one of them. All right, this is my first major problem with this car. I'm gonna shift it into first gear. Watch the shifter. It goes back to center. It's in first gear right now, but it goes back to center. And when I pull it down into neutral, it just goes straight down. But that was first gear. So this is first gear. To put it into second gear, I have to push it over and pull it down, and it just goes back to center again. To get it into third gear, I just go straight up. And I've gotten used to that, but what I can't get used to is when I go into fifth and then try to go into sixth, sometimes it doesn't go into sixth. It goes into fourth, or it just locks me out. Like right now, it doesn't want to go into sixth gear, and I don't know why. So when I was at the dealership test driving it, I assumed that it didn't want me to lug the engine, so it was just locking me out of sixth gear. But on the highway drive home, I would be at like 3,000 RPM, and it would still lock me out of sixth gear or shift into fourth gear. And I don't know why it does that. Like right now, I assume it's in, I don't know. It doesn't really, it's not telling me on the screen. It will tell me sometimes, but when I really need it to, it's not. And I feel like I'm gonna break the shifter trying to get it into a gear that it doesn't want to go into. So this is with a manual car. For me, it's a major deal breaker. It makes the car, this is such a fantastic car. I mean, it's a great car. Like, it's fun to drive. It handles very well. It's adequately powered for the things I like to do. I like to take my car on back roads. I don't need 500 horsepower to do that. Sometimes I feel like my car is too powerful for that because I can't put my foot down all the way between corners. But I mean, this shifter is, there's absolutely like no confidence that it's in gear. The only gear that it goes into and stays in is reverse, which this is what it's supposed to do. It's just supposed to stay there. There's no play. or anything. But, and I just can't, and they gave it to me to test drive to see if I could get past that, and I just can't. It makes driving the car like a chore sometimes. So we're gonna take it out onto the road and see if I can like recreate the problems that I'm having with it. And I don't know, because everybody at the dealership swears, oh, it's okay, it's just something you have to get used to. But I mean, I don't really want to get used to that, because I want to be able to slam my car into a gear when I'm driving it hard with the confidence that it's in that gear. I don't want it to go, and when I'm pushing my car, I really shouldn't be pushing it into 6th gear. I shouldn't be putting it in 6th gear that much, but sometimes I do. If I feel like if I don't want to push it that hard and I just want to cruise from one corner to another, I'll put it into 6th gear. Or I feel like I'm going to break the speed limit too hard, I'll put it into 6th gear, and I want it to go into 6th gear, not into 4th. So we're going to see if I can do it. I'm just going to drive it normally. I had to push it straight up to go into 3rd. 4th gear is the only gear it goes into confidently. So I'm at 50 miles an hour. This should be a good 6th, and it went into 6th gear that time. Let's see if it'll do it again. That's 4th. I mean 40, let's try 45. And it did it again that time too. So like right now it's not giving me any issues. And so right now it doesn't want to do the issue, but there's still the fact that it does that sometimes, and the shifter goes back to center, which I don't like. Let's put it in sport mode. Let's see if I can actually get it to do that, because if it stopped doing it, then I guess that's not something I need to worry about. But the fact that it goes back to center when it's in 1st, it's where 3rd should be, but right now it's in 1st gear. That's a pretty good turning radius, not the best. Okay, see, look right there, it does not want to go into 6th. It went into 4th, straight over to the right, and it went back into 4th gear. And was going what, 45? I mean, it should, I'm going 48 miles an hour. It should go into 6th gear. It's not going into 6th gear, and now it's in 4th. The gear it went into was 4th gear. And if it's supposed to be like that, it's a brand new car. If it's supposed to be like that, Hyundai either needs to fix that issue, and if not all cars are like this, the dealership has to fix this issue before someone like me comes and gets it. So that is a major deal breaker with this car for me. Let's get into the other issue. The other issue with this car, in my opinion, is that the GR Corolla is coming out. That is a car that I'm very interested in, because it's everything. Like I love tight handling rally cars in the 300 horsepower range. Like that's my thing. I love that. And it went into 4th gear again, did not go into 6th. But that's my thing. I love the tight knit handling cars. It went into 4th again. It does not want to go into 6th gear now. So sometimes it does it, sometimes it doesn't. I'm gonna try to ignore that issue though. But so yeah, anyways, the GR Corolla is coming out, and that's the car that I'm comparing this to. So here's the problem with this car. I already own a Speed 6 that I have no intentions of getting rid of. Now, as a daily driver, this car is good. It's great, but the thing is, all the gizmos and stuff in this car are cool. I'm not the type of person who cares about that, and I know I am not like the majority in that, but I just don't really care about those things. Like, the driving experience is everything to me. I want to be able to drive my car to work, drive my car to school, places I don't like going, and feel like I can tell myself, okay, at least I had fun getting there. I have absolutely no problems driving my Speed 6. It's super comfortable. It's super easy to drive. I can get on it when I want to. It can be a nice slow cruiser when it wants to be. And this car is like that too, but the shifting issues make it undrivable. This particular one, and I don't know if they're all like this, but I could not daily drive this car. I would get irritated because I'm getting pretty agitated right now. I want it to go into 6th gear. I just want to cruise, and it does not want to do that. And I cannot get it to do that for the life of me. So as a daily driver, it's not as good as my Speed 6. What about as a fun weekend car? Well, it's still not as good as my Speed 6 because this car is front wheel drive, and I tried to look past it, but I just can't do as much with this car in terms of driving dynamics, as I can do with my car. So if I want to drive my car to work, I'm gonna take the Speed 6. If I want to drive to the mountains, I'll take this car every now and again, but I'll feel more inclined to take my Speed 6. So this car just wouldn't fit next to my car. I like my car more than this one. And it's not really about the fact that I like my car. I love my car. Like, it's gonna be hard to be a better car than my car, but at least give me something different enough to where I want to drive it. And this car just doesn't do anything that my Speed 6 can't do, except wirelessly charge my phone and give me this information, which I have an access port that gives me all that data anyways. And the GR Corolla will be able to do things that my car can't do, because I can send 60% or 70% of the power to the rear wheels in the Corolla. In my car, I can only send 50 to the rear, which 50 is still enough to get sideways. It's still enough to do plenty of fun things. It's still enough to have to be able to drive the car. This car will not get sideways, and it's inherent in the front wheel drive nature of the car. So comparing this car to the Speed 6, and I was struggling I was like, God, I like this car, I don't love it. Could I get this car and just get rid of it when the Corolla comes out? And I can do that, but now that I've driven it and now that I've, you know, had some time alone with it, I don't really like it enough to want to do that. Now, it is a great car. If you need one performance vehicle that can do everything, this is a good car. If not all the shifters are like this, I can't deal with that at all. But for my case, I have a Speed 6 that makes close to 400 horsepower that I'm not getting rid of. I have a Corolla coming in, which I'm gonna have to struggle. Went into 4th gear again. It's just ridiculous. But there's a Corolla coming that I might have to fight to get, but the fight will be worth it because it's gonna be dynamic. I don't know if it's gonna be better than the Speed 6, but it's gonna be dynamically different enough for me to enjoy it about as much as my car. And this car just doesn't have that. Let's just end on a soundbite from this car. Oh man, I'll tell you what, the Corolla may come out to be a better car than this one, but in terms of sound, it's not gonna sound like this. This car sounds absolutely amazing. But anyways, thanks for watching.